If there was one thing you wish people knew, what would be that one thing?
You have a very short timeline in the grand scheme, so live it up and live it now. Live your life now. Just live it. Don't keep looking off into the future. Like, live it. Now is the time because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Molly Margo, you were diagnosed with terminal brain cancer in 2016, and here you are today.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited.
I just don't like to plan my shows. I keep being told by the husband that I need to plan better, but I just like having conversations. And so, cancer is not something that I've actually had to deal with in my life. Thank God for that. But it is your life, and I just want to hear everything. So,
You got it.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been talking about it. For a while there, I was talking about it all the time. And then you get a little burnout after a while. And then, I'm about ready to start talking about it again.
Yeah.
So I'm, 9 years in now. So
Yeah, well, I mean, just tell me from the start, like what were you doing? Like what was that thing that you were like, something might be wrong here?
I had no idea anything was wrong, even up to the time I was diagnosed, actually. But in retrospect, it all makes sense because I was in my early 30s when I was diagnosed, mid 30s. And I was active, physically active, no physical issues for me. I was into CrossFit, I was into lifting, I was into running, I was into the paleo diet, I was into, Rob Wolf was one of my buddies, he still is, I still chat with him all the time. I love talking about all that. But I was, like in a bit of a rut working in the family business where I sucked at it. Let's be frank. I love I'm a terrible salesperson, but I love chatting on the phone. I was starting to make a lot of errors, but I just thought I was getting dumber, and I was working in family business. So obviously I was just and it was a very old school family business with one computer, phone calls with cords and everything. It was nothing it's an old family business. Been in the was in the family for so many years. And I had moved back to Detroit from Los Angeles in my late 20s. I had failed marriage. I was a big walking ball of chaos.
What were you doing in Los Angeles?
So I graduated from college in 2002 and I had bear with me. I had a degree in journalism and political theory and constitutional democracy. So obviously you go to DC or Lansing, right?
Yeah.
No, Molly moves to Los Angeles because she wants to work in film. I worked for a little film festival back then, 2002, 2003. There were video stores, and we had a film festival that took place in video stores where you vote like American Idol on DVDs of independent films. Believe me, I didn't get paid at this gig. I was an intern. That's how they employed us, by calling us interns.
Yeah.
Lots of adventures. I remember getting lost in New York because they had a movie something they were doing there, and they couldn't fly me back to Los Angeles for a while until they had the money. So I just stayed with a friend in her single room apartment and shared a bed with her for a week and a half. Had no money, bought almonds on the street. But yeah, anyway, I was just a lost puppy out there, and I was in huge debt. I had to move back to Detroit in our family business, which was optical, not my thing. Depressed, all that stuff. Got married, got divorced, depressed. Started having some, I just thought I was getting dumber. I was a good student at Michigan State with my degrees and all that. I did really well, very easily, but I didn't have any focus. I probably shouldn't have gone to college right after high school, to be honest.
I started college wanting to go into criminal justice. It's
Did you want to be Agent Scully? Because that's what I wanted to
I
be.
wanted criminal, oh my gosh, what's the show called? It's been so long. Criminal Minds? Is that what it's called?
Criminal Minds or Boom Boom, whatever that show is. I can only think of the...
That's so funny. But no, and so I always recommend to people, if you go to college, just do your 2 years of general studies. Do not just pick something unless you've wanted to do it for 20 years, your whole life, But I thought I wanted to go into criminal justice. At a time I wanted to maybe go into psychology, but ended up doing marketing. And it's not even really the marketing that people kind of think of. I wanted to do market research, which is just so funny how life works because even though I'm not technically doing that, there's so many things that I learned that I am using. Like with market research, especially my master's degree, it really doesn't even matter what degree you get. With your master's or with your PhD, what you do learn is just how to research. So, I mean, literally my entire master's degree was just learning about how to find peer-reviewed sources. And I even remember, this was actually my final semester. I had a teacher or a professor that said, that graded me low on my first paper because he's like, you didn't like look into these 3 sources. I'm like, what do you mean? They're peer-reviewed studies. Like what? And he's like, but you can't just trust every peer-reviewed study. And it's just so genius. I should have learned that like day one. And I didn't learn that until my final semester. One professor did that.
It's always the way it works, right?
Yeah. And so like now we know that like you can't just trust every peer-reviewed study out there. Like we got to understand that like people make mistakes. Researchers are people. They can be bribed. They can just make, errors, just whatever, like everyday errors. And they could be unethical and stuff.
Well, we're learning that more and more now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just thought, well, I was a good student. I wouldn't do liberal arts again, just because math, science, and anyway, whole other thing. But I was a lost puppy, and I just thought I was getting I went from being a smart kid, young person to losing focus. It was guys and I wanted a relationship and I wanted this and trying to be like, oh well, if you play dumb, it works. It works like better. And I just kind of lost track of myself. So when I started showing deficits, I didn't know they were deficits. I just my dad would get frustrated, my boss, I would screw up orders. And I'm not stupid, but I'd be screwing up orders and I'm like, oh God, I'm just getting dumber. And honestly, I didn't show any known symptoms I didn't have crazy behavior changes. I didn't have any, I didn't have seizures how I thought seizures were. So,
Okay.
when you see movies people shake and drool on the floor. Yeah, no. So I always I never had headaches. I don't get headaches.
Yeah.
So I remember even thinking, there's even a post I made on Facebook way back, 15 years ago that was the eye doctor thinks I could have a brain cancer, a brain tumor. And I thought that was hilarious. I go,
stop.
yeah. And I was like, no way.
Wow.
In the symptoms leading up to 2016 started in July 2016. Well, actually, let's go back a little bit to the first real sign something was wonky. I was getting my passport updated, and I couldn't find my old passport, so I had to get my birth certificate. And so I go to the post office to, do it, and I'm looking at my birth certificate, and my mind was all scrambled, and I couldn't read it. I could read the words, but I couldn't,
Wow.
and I called my mom, crying, and I'm like, Mom, where was I born? She's like, well, don't you have your birth certificate? I'm like, yeah, it's right here. She's like, well, what does it say? I'm like, I don't know. I can't. She's like, what is going on?
I know what that's like too, because I got a concussion at work one time. A clock fell on my head.
Oof.
And they make you fill out an injury report right away, or an incident report. And I am sitting there. I'm like, I have no idea what my social security number is. I had to keep scratching it out. The paper was a mess. I had to keep scratching and rewriting and it. Yeah.
It's well, and the funny thing is that sometimes that happens. You're like, oh, I'm just stupid. And I have been kind of thinking I just thought, well, you know what, you're not that, especially. It's funny, in college I was really smart, really good. So it's funny to look back and be like, oh, I'm just getting stupid, and no, did I go to the doctor? No, nothing like that. But then in July 2016, I I used to do this thing where I would jog to the gym, do my little workout, walk home.
Okay.
So it's a mile. And I did that, went to work, took my lunch break, which is usually in downtown Detroit. And I would take a walk to one of the coffee shops and chat with the barista. And I was doing that. And all of a sudden I felt nauseous. And my cappuccino was right in front of me. And I'm sitting on one of those tall bar stools because that's what the coffee shop had. It was then called Ash Coffee. Now it's Duke Donuts. I don't know if that's still around, but anyway, I was sitting at the counter. I put my head down like this, and next thing I know, I am on the floor, marble floor, like on the floor. People are still like at their laptops working all around me, yet EMS is standing above me, and I am just like, I have no idea what happened. I'm mortified, and yeah, and I was so embarrassed. I thought I just had like too much coffee and like was over caffeinated, because so in my 20s with my ex-husband, for example, I had fainted. So that's what it feels like for me. My seizures were like fainting, except I would go backwards and like fall down. But my ex-husband caught me up the other times I had what I thought were faints, but they were seizures.
So you think you had the brain cancer that long?
Oh, they think it was slow. They think I'm one of the lucky ones that had a slow growing tumor that was probably started out benign and then progressed over time, because my brain has, well, I'll tell you more later, but like my brain has already made substitutions that a fast moving tumor, like the people who have glioblastoma, it's moving fast. So like even in the same part of the brain as mine, they'll have more deficits. I think my brain already made little substitutions. But yeah, so there, I remember just, I was so embarrassed. Like, it's funny, you're on the floor and you're like, and there's EMS all around you. It's never had that happen. They're like, I was concussed, obviously, but I was, the first thing I think of was how embarrassed I was, because everyone's around me and there's EMS. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I work like basically just across Grand Circus Park. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to tell my dad I'm going to be late. I don't know how long I've been here. It was a while. I was definitely conked out for a while. And, they're like, we have to take you to emergency. And I'm like, no. They're like, and then they're like, I had to get up. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I feel really bad, like really bad. And they're like, we don't know if you had a seizure or a stroke. So, you know, we're going to take you in. And I was like, I was laughing. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I just had too much caffeine and like I fainted, whatever.
I feel like this is so millennial.
Yeah.
Like thinking about like inconveniencing or like, you know, can't go into work and stuff.
I'm in the Oregon Trail generation, because I was born in 80. So I am in between both gen. And but yes, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing, because there's nothing, I was so healthy, you know, like I couldn't possibly, like, I am fit and I'm healthy, and cancer doesn't run in my family. Interestingly enough, after my diagnosis, my mom would be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and pass away. Then her sister would be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, pass away. Wow. I have no genetic known connections to any of those cancers, and brain cancer doesn't have a genetic thing. But on my dad's side of the family, brain tumors seem to run, but there's no known genetic reasoning behind that either. It's all one.
Well, what I found out when researching women's health, PCOS, which eventually led to diabetes, because a lot of people think that PCOS is diabetes of the ovaries, where even like dementia, a lot of people think that's diabetes of the brain. But anyway, so when I started researching diabetes, a lot of people think type 2 diabetes is genetic, but it's not. A lot of people, it runs in the family. So when you go to the doctor, they ask, like, does diabetes run in your family? And you might say yes, like, yeah, my parents had it, my grandparents had it. Well, it's because you have similar lifestyles. If you, like, let's say there's a toxin, like, let's say your water supply is poison, right? Like you guys are all in the same family drinking the same water. So it may seem like it's genetic, but it's actually just because as a family, you guys are doing similar things. You have similar diets.
That's very interesting. And, you know, we're still learning so much too. Yeah. And granted, I do think lifestyle, and I do think, there's a lot of things. And with the brain, you really don't know like too much, or, you know, obviously, you know, I do now I get all the testing, just like I don't do like mammograms all the time because, well, I got a whole other story about that. But like, I did have like a baseline for my upper abdominal region due to the pancreatic, just because of everything else. But I tend to take it more after my dad's Italian side anyway, not my aesthetic, but more
we're Italian sisters.
Yeah, my dad, like all the Serafino side of our family, there's brain tumors, but they're benign to malignant to, you know, but like for the most part, I was like, it's weird. So I'm more curious than anything. I'm not scared anymore. But anyway, I go to the hospital and I'm still laughing, and I had to call my boyfriend and my mom and dad, and, you know, I didn't think anything was serious, but I had to do all these tests. So then I told my dad, my mom, they could go home. My boyfriend's with me, and then they leave, and eventually we're at DMC downtown, and which is a great place for emergency. I'm glad I didn't need my emergency brain surgery there, but we got the scan back, and this very somber emergency room doctor comes to, he's like, you have a brain tumor, like, and you need to get an MRI stat. And I think because I was maybe on pain meds or something and the concussion, I was very calm and just like, okay. Like, and as someone who's like always been very phobic, and like, if someone throws up in a room next to me, then I'm like freaked out. I'm afraid of everything. But I was very calm. My boyfriend's pretty amazing. And the MRI had a very like, if you ever want to get into it, I had like a very spiritual experience in the MRI. And
I mean, that's the first thing I thought of, is like just God was with you at that time.
it showed my whole perspective on life basically had changed from that MRI. It's been a journey since then, and has changed. But like, that was the beginning. It was like being shown two paths. Like, you can continue the path you're on. You're still going to die at the end. Like that was like kind of the message. Like, no matter which path you take, you're still, the end is the same. So, and then I sort of got a feeling like you're not going to be cured of this can't. This is a part of your thing. So it's tumor, because that's all I knew. I thought it was benign tumor, like praying for that. And when they didn't have to do the emergency removal there, they're like, you need to get it out stat, because there's like a lot of fluid buildup in there. Yeah, you need to get that out stat, but you don't need to get it out like immediately. Like, it's not on any like causing any like immediate issues.
And where was it in your brain?
My deep left temporal lobe.
Okay.
About the size of an avocado pit. And I'm left-handed too, so it was interesting. I had, over time, I had time to shop around, and then we had already had, since we had other people in our family with brain tumors, we chose Henry Ford, Detroit, and I had to do a lot of tests to make sure that the surgery was done in the best possible way. I had about 3 months. My diagnosis, or my surgery, was in October. Discovery was in July. October 6th or 7th, I think, was when I had the surgery. Dr. Ellen Eyre at Henry Ford was my surgeon. She's amazing.
I'm assuming full like head off surgery, all the things.
Well, I did. So I had a number of testing before, which I think is super cool. I'm going to talk about it because I do think I've had the neuropsych test 3 times. One time pre-surgery, because I'm left-handed and stuff. They also wanted to like figure some stuff out. I thought a neuropsych would be fun. It was not fun.
What exactly did they do?
So they like ask you, it's like taking like SATs kind of, but only stuff you struggle with.
Okay.
And so it's like, I thought it would be like, maybe they would find I'm a secret genius.
that would so be me.
I was so hoping that like there was some secret like intelligence that they could find.
Yeah.
They're like, they were all very optimistic. You have a completely average ID and IQ. Thank you, brains. You have a completely average IQ. I'm like, that is the most depressing thing I've ever thought about.
I would so be the same way.
Later on, after I selected to do it again, a few years after that surgery, just to see where I stood, and it was exactly like, some things were up, some things were down. IQ still completely average, and then I was like, wait, and then I had to do it again to stay on disability, which is really a whole other thing. It's very depressing in a whole lot of ways, especially when you're like secretly wanting to not need it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, surely they're like, nope, you're still brain damaged. But it's also like, what's more humbling is realizing, oh, that means half the population is actually dumber than me. So it's actually,
there you go.
It's actually, but that's not even that's sad. Like, that really depressed me, because I'm like, I have a hole in my brain this big.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they had that, and then I had something called a WADA, which a lot of people with really severe epilepsy also do it, and it's not, most people don't enjoy it. Women tend to enjoy it, from what my discussions, more than men, who have to get something called a WADA test, named after Dr. WADA. And what they do is they shut off one side of your brain. So they ask you questions, shut off your brain on one side.
How do they just shut
femoral
off?
Artery.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so.
Oh, that's scary.
Well, you'd think so, but nobody told me that, so I didn't know what to expect. So I was just like, well, I'm riding this bus. So I thought it was super fun. Then they ask you questions, and then it's got like 15 minutes, and then then they wait like 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and then they do the other side. I had the best time. I
Oh
thought
my
it was like, I was like drunk on whatever. And they did it because I'm left-handed and my tumor was in my left temporal lobe. So they wanted to see how left-handed I was. It was wild.
This is fascinating.
I thought it was the most fun I've ever had. Apparently not many people say that.
I'd be terrified, but this sounds fascinating. Do you
It
have a
was
video
so
of
fun.
this?
So the first one, they turned off, I think, the left side first. And I remember everything was weird. And so I would say, like, they would ask questions and they'd be like, what am I holding? And it's like a horse or something, I think. And then you would talk, they'd be like, no, try again. And I'm like, what did I say? Because I think I'm saying the correct thing. And I remember them asking, this is my favorite, they were asking the days of the week. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And she's like, no, we'll try again in a few minutes. And then I'm like, what am I saying? I swear. And even if I consciously think like, what is coming out of my mouth? Because what I'm saying, what I think I'm saying is correct. And then the third time she asked me, I said Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And she's like, correct. I'm like, what was different? So I still don't know what was different, but
Wow.
and then, obviously then they did the other side, my right side. And, I woke up. I don't remember anything from it other than waking up with like tears and like feeling really good. I had been laughing. And then I look around me and all the doctors and nurses are cracking up. They're laughing. I'm like, what happened? They're like, you were just really funny. I'm like, what did I say? They're like, you were just funny. So that's what I have. And I'm like, I wish I could have recorded it. So I thought that was a blast. But I also, after that MRI experience, I was just going to ride this thing and make it as fun as possible because I just never thought I would have been in that situation. I had my surgery. It went really well.
So you said that fainting happened around July?
Yeah.
Okay,
July.
so
The discovery of the tumor was in July. I had a lot of testing and found my surgeon, and the testing and whatever. And then the surgery was in October.
So 4 months.
Yeah. And then it takes about like a week to 14 days to they'd send all your, the samples off. Mm-hmm. And I guess I've learned that people do heal better from surgeries before they know. The doctor's probably like, I remember showing one of my friends, he is in a military neuropsych. So he's a neuropsych and he does that for the military. So I gave him my papers after the WADA and after the neuropsych, and he knows the neuropsychs because he does them himself.
Yeah.
And I could see the somberness of his, like, so I think he already had a really good idea of what my situation was. He probably thought it was glioblastoma or what I would end up being diagnosed with, which was an grade 3 astrocytoma, which is, astrocytomas are like junior flavor glioblastomas. They're like a mutation or two aside from what glioblastoma is. So I think that they already had a feeling that's what it was, but I just thought it was benign brain tumor, and if you don't walk in assuming like, just walk right in. It's benign tumor, and once it's gone, I'm fine. Mm-hmm.
And then did you not find out until they took it out?
Well, they took it out and then they send it off.
Yeah.
And to the research. So I got the results over the phone from who would be my neuro oncologist, Dr. Jim Snyder at Henry Ford, a lovely person. But at the time, I don't even remember meeting him, but I had met him before surgery, but I don't remember that because I was like, why would I need a neuro oncologist? And he called me on the phone, the calmest voice, and he's like, well, we got, like everything back in, it's grade 3, astrocytoma. You'll need, you'll hear, we'll meet up with you if you want to come in today. But I was just in so much shock. I said, can I call you back? Can I meet you at the hospital?
Yeah, I feel like this should be an in-person conversation.
Well, and he said that's what they give it to you over the phone and then say, you can come right in if you want. We can come anytime you want for the thing. And I just remember like going into like a panic mode, and I hung up with him, and I was like, my mom was waiting. We were going to go out to lunch, and she was waiting in the driveway. Aww. I went out onto the porch and I screamed. I screamed like bloody murder. Like I screamed. I'm not that type of person. I screamed because cancer. I didn't have, I literally was like, never thought in a million years.
Wow.
Because I didn't know anyone besides that one friend from high school. And I didn't know anyone in my family who
Well,
had.
yeah, and I looked it up before we started recording, but 40% of people will be either have or will be diagnosed with cancer in their life.
Yep.
And that's insane. I did not know that.
And
the
those
number was
numbers,
so high.
have gone up, like,
Oh, yeah.
especially lately. But that's, but so we went to the hospital. He calmed me down. Like, the nurses were amazing. I had never heard of, I mean, why would I? I've heard of vaguely of like glioblastomas, but I had weirdly enough, my cousin on the other side of my family, her son was like 4 or 5 years old when he was diagnosed with something called medulloblastoma, which is more of like a back here thing, but it's like a brain. I had heard, but like never really heard of it. Like, and he passed away. But I never thought. I don't get headaches. Like, that's another thing. I never got headaches. I never, like, that you just assume. And I didn't know that, me fainting at a coffee shop was a seizure, nor did I know I was probably having them when I was in my 20s, when I was fainting a lot.
So what happened? You said like years before that, though, that your eye doctor said that you probably have brain cancer. What was that?
Well, it was funny. I was on the road for work, and all of a sudden I got double vision. So this was like maybe 2012, 2011. And I was called my dad to go, hey, I'm seeing like two, like my vision's weird. I had double vision. And he's like, yeah, you should call your ophthalmologist, because we worked in optical. He's like, why don't you just call one of the doctors? I was like, okay. And he was like, the optometrist was like, you need to or he was an optometrist and an ophthalmologist, one or the other. Anyway, he was like, you need to come in stat. Wow. And I'm like, no, I can't. I'm like, ha ha. He's like, you need to come in because that could be a brain tumor. And I just thought that was hilarious back then, because I didn't.
It's so interesting because I have a lazy eye. I can't really see out of my left eye. I'm pretty sure it's considered legally blind. Like, I just have peripheral in that eye. And so like I get double vision. I don't want to say quite often, but like the thing that always gets me is when I'm on the highway and there's orange cones. Oh, my lazy eye likes to look at the orange cones. And people probably don't even know that I have a lazy eye because I had it corrected when I was a kid.
Sure.
So like it only goes lazy like when I'm reading something sometimes, and when I look into a mirror every now and then. But for the most part, it doesn't go lazy. But those orange cones,
there's always a trigger.
Yeah. So I'll see double vision, but that's just so interesting because no one's ever like sounded the alarm about that for me. But I think it's just because I have a lazy eye,
and that's the thing. I remember laughing, and by the time I did go to the optometrist, and he was like, it could be a brain tumor, but it was already gone by then, and so he didn't see anything. And my brain tumor location would not cause that. Now, if it was maybe frontal lobe, it probably would have, but like, I feel like it was a heavenly sign, like something's wrong, but I was like laughing it off. But anyways, yeah. But after my diagnosis, and there's like standard of care for brain cancer, much like I'm sure other cancers, but brain cancer and other cancers, there's the blood-brain barrier, which it's a totally different thing. Most brain cancers don't have like metastasis, for example, because of that. Other tumors come up. Brain tumors generally don't go down, though sometimes they will go down this brain stem. And there are exceptions, but for the most part, you don't really have to worry about like an astrocytoma like going rogue in your body and having lung cancer. You can have, and they're different. They're treated differently too. So when a lung cancer goes to the brain, you have a different treatment entirely. Like,
oh wow.
For us, it's like recommended. Like it's different than other cancers order of surgery first, then radiation. Or radiation and chemo, and then chemo. Chemo is last stage effort for
That's
brain.
like so scary to get radiation in your brain.
Yeah, and that's your like first step, because chemo is like the least likely to have any.
I mean, did they think that there was more left over, or just?
Oh yeah, there's always more left over.
Okay.
And with the brain, with the astros, like mine might have been like 85% removed, and mine is like in tendrils, so you're never getting all the tumor anyway.
Okay.
Unless like if it's a benign tumor, there's good chances that you can remove it because it's kind of different. But with like mine, it has like glioblastoma and astros, they have tendrils. Okay. So you're never, even if what they say they got all visible signs, maybe, but
Yeah.
like that's why reoccurrence is very common. And of course, I'm still fully believing the medical system entirely, very trustworthy and,
Yeah, because this was pre-COVID.
yep. And I do love my team. I do think like my surgeon is freaking incredible. She's the head of something over at Henry Ford Neuro right now, but she's incredible. The whole team is incredible. They did a great job, and I have very few noticeable deficiencies. Now, that's why people can make fun of you when you're on disability, because they're like, why are you on it? Well, I mean, I've had neuropsychs, believe me. I'm brain damaged, but
Yeah. But like, how did your life change? Okay, so you have
Yeah.
surgery. What did your follow-up, like how often were you in the hospital after that, like getting chemo and everything?
Okay, so radiation first. That was hard. So radiation, I had the maximum radiation that you have to, so
Wow.
it's like about a month, like like 5 days a week. You take
Wow.
a small dose of your chemo, which is oral pills, and I did fine with that. The fatigue is epic. I remember them telling me like, this is the one time they don't want you having antioxidants too much, which is weird because I remember my sister's very holistic. Was like, what? I can't believe no antioxidants. But then it's like, no,
Wow.
like just while they're fighting that region, and then as soon as you're done, like go all crazy again. But I remember she's like, you may want to cut back on like grapefruit, and I'm like, I don't remember ever eating grapefruit too much or very often. If in the last year or 10, like I don't remember eating grapefruit, but just them telling me no grapefruit.
Yeah. Made you want it.
That made me want it so bad.
It's going to make me want it now.
I know.
have,
I
like,
actually
one
have
every
some in
six-
my fridge. I was just thinking about this. And
Oh my gosh, that's so
and
funny.
I was hoping, I was like, I remember thinking, I have can't, like, when I was diagnosed, I was like, I'll lose weight. Because of course, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I'll get lean. Because you're on, all the people I know, I'm like, no, they put you on medical steroids. I gained like 40 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it stayed up for many years. But like after radiation, chemo, you get a little break so your body can heal up somewhat.
Yeah.
And then you go on to the deadly poison that is called chemo. But I had oral chemo. I happened to be one of the weirdos that happened to be allergic to the one chemo, really two chemos that were available. So I had to go into the ICU as an awake, able-bodied person so that they could microdose me orally with this over the period of like 3 days. And then I could go into the pill form, but instead of
the one that you were allergic to?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I mean, I think most people actually are, and I can't. It's a long story, but like I just happen to be more sensitive to it, so I had to take small. For most people, it's like depending on height, weight, and I've always been chunky, so like my scale weight. So maybe that was a part of it too. It's always been heavy. Even now, it's like pretty heavy. So the oral dose is like maybe a lot, but I had to like microdose it like the first 3 days of 5 days. 5 days of the oral chemo a month for a year for me. Now I think they've downed it to, you can do it like 6 months. 5 days a month for 6 months is like standard. But for me, it was a year. And that's what they would treat a glioblastoma, like basically the same. But most people just take it's like 1 or 2 pills. And for 5 days. For me, I had to take it every half hour for the end. I would then after like the ICU for the first month, I had to spend like 2 nights or 2 or 3 nights at in ICU just to like test it out. And then by the 4th day or 3rd or 4th day, like you could take the oral pills, but you would take it like every half hour for 8 hours or whatever it was. And then after that month, I could just take 8 hours every half hour. I would actually do it in the hospital. And then after like a few months of that, for the first 3 days, I could take the rest at home. I could start just taking it at home, and it would be like every 30 minutes I would take.
And you obviously were not working at this time.
Well, funny enough, my father, I worked in family business. He I couldn't drive because of a seizure, right? So
Yeah.
And then I had a seizure a week before surgery. I was still working. My dad, like people like, I'm like, no, I had a little ride, like a neighbor who had worked downtown. I would walk from my office to her building where she would drive me home, and she would pick me up in the morning. And it would be like me and her baby son sitting in the back seat, or like whatever. Mm-hmm. But it was a week before my surgery, and I had another seizure.
Wow.
Because I I don't know why. I wasn't drinking coffee or anything, but I still felt woozy. And I actually had, or like, where you could like kind of had like, I was in Disney World, but I was at the office. I could see Disney World. I was like, oh boy, I better sit down. And same thing happened. I hit the floor. And I took a selfie and posted it, I think, on Facebook then too. But like, I had a seizure. They called EMS, but I was like, no, Dad, just have them take us, like, tell them they can go. So like, they checked in. They're like, okay, well, as long as you go to the hospital after, like, we already know what it is. And I'm having surgery in a week. So my dad, after that, he was like, okay, well, don't come back to work. I'm like, yeah, thank you. Like a week before surgery. I didn't work again until after the radiation stuff. And it was like my surgery was in October. I think I started going back to work again in like January, but like half days and stuff, because it was really hard. I remember trying to run again when I was doing, I think I signed up for like the half marathon, even though I was still going through treatment. And I kind of trained for it. I didn't end up running it because it was rainy and cold and I did not feel good. But yeah, the chemo stuff, like actually over time you feel worse and worse and worse with the chemo. So it was like in my like 11th or 12th month where I was like, I can't wait till this is over. But it really wasn't.
I hear some people say like sometimes it's really not the cancer that kills you, it's the chemo.
I full on believe that, especially with like, and even if I were diagnosed with, like, this is me now, but if I were diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, I would say no. I mean, maybe if like under a certain age, I would go for it, but like no Whipple, like unless it's like really like they think they can get it, like, but I don't think I would with certain diagnoses. Like I would rather just.
And some people even say, I mean, there's so many things out there because all the trillions of dollars put into cancer research really has done nothing. I mean, I even remember, I think this was last year, someone was diagnosed with terminal cancer, given like a month to live, and he took a dog dewormer. And his cancer went away.
It's wild. And I used to get really angry. So early in my diagnosis, I remember, because, I had to take Ubers a lot because I had to go I was always getting blood work and I couldn't drive. I couldn't drive for almost like, 9 months because of, between the time of my first seizure and the second seizure and surgery and all that. I've been active with all the brain organizations, and this is the first time I'm kind of stepping back because I'm starting to get a little jaded. Not because I think they're really good people, and my doctors, my medical team are incredible. I trust a lot of the research. It's just that I don't know. I'm suspicious of a lot of things, not the people, but I remember early on, like I have such faith and such everything, and I remember an Uber driver being like, they're hiding the cure for cancer. And I'm like, just rolling my eyes. And even now I'm like, I don't think there's just one cancer cure. There's not, because they're all different. Mm-hmm. They're,
berberine has been found to kill cancer cells.
And I actually have friends who are doing like one of my buddies, he's in the UK. I remember meeting him when I was like first had thought I had a benign tumor, and he had, what was then who now in as of 2020 he would be considered glioblastoma but back then it was grade 3 astrocytoma with a IDH1 wild type. Okay. I have the good one, which is the IDH1 mutant. But he and a lot of my buddies were then diagnosed with IDH wild types and astrocytomas. And he got the surgery, and then he started radiation. But after like a couple sessions, he was like, I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. And he didn't do chemo. He went full on keto. Mm-hmm. But this is like, and he was diagnosed before me. So like hardcore keto, but he had like medical help. You can't, like, it's not just like the keto for weight loss or whatever. Like you have to be far more serious. And I've been to I've like learned a lot about it. To me, like, I don't know that I could be successful at it, because you need your medical team to be with you on it, and most of them aren't. Like, It's not that they don't think it can be helpful. It's just that's just I don't know why, but they won't, like, there's no, you need like blood tests all the time. You need to like have your like a diabetes like thing on you all the times. And don't trust myself enough with that.
Yeah, that's like the next. I have been able to treat my PCOS so much. I've lost so much weight, and like now I'm just like kind of at a standstill. I did go down to trying to eat one meal a day, so if you hear my stomach growl, that's why.
Me. I've been intermittent fasting now for.
Yeah.
I've finally dropped like 25 pounds, but
So
like
yeah, I've lost 5 pounds since doing it for like 2 weeks. So it's like the first time I've been able to lose more weight in like, I don't know, like 8 months or so.
I'm with you on
It's
that.
just,
Though.
it's hard because my husband doesn't get home till like 5:30 and then having to cook and stuff. It's really hard to wait that long. But if like on the weekends, it's so easy for us to do that because at 2 o'clock we eat a big meal and that's all we need to eat that whole day.
And that's been the big thing. It's hard for me because I still will cook for my boyfriend, and luckily I don't like a lot of the same food as him. So I like everything, and he likes like 4 foods, and he's like a child, and it's like chicken. Like, you're just gonna eat chicken and white rice and like broccoli? He's like, it's fine. I'm like, that's like when I was like powerlifting and like all the like lifters I used to be like, I'm like, that's like their tray of food. Look, bro, I'm like, it's boring. I want like colors and like and flavors.
We'll have to make homemade pasta together sometime.
Yes, that'd be so funny. Yeah, so he's still like, he's not had any reoccurrence and he's doing great. He has some other issues that related to the location of his tumor, I think, but he is doing incredible. And there's always that hope, but like now that I've been active with, so I became friends with a lot of people on, when X was Twitter, back when there was the hashtag BTSM, monthly brain tumor social media chats, which I think they still do once a month, but they've all moved to like Blue Sky and everything, which I'm not going to ever join.
I joined it, and within 2 weeks they banned my account.
For real?
For literally doing nothing. Literally doing nothing. Just I commented. I think I commented.
Oh, there you go. You commented.
Yeah, I commented like 3 times. And they banned my account with no warning, nothing, no reason. It's literally, they literally get rid of anyone with opposing views. It's
ridiculous.
The biggest echo chamber. People say on the left that X is an echo chamber. And I'm like, I see lefties all the time on X.
So do I. And then lots of spam. That's the one thing I don't like. And I miss my friends, but I know a lot of them have muted. And this is off topic, I know. But like a lot of them have muted me, and I've muted a lot of them just because I want to still like them. I know, like, and but now it's like I don't have the same. I miss the brain community, but also I don't sometimes too. I'm getting I was so active. So I'm still active with the American Brain Tumor Association, though I did not go to their national conference this year because I had Head for the Cure in Detroit at Belle Isle with Henry Ford that Sunday. So I was like, sometimes I do manage to squeeze it all in, but I just knew I was going to be burnt out, and I've lost so many friends in the brain cancer community, which I'm used to, and I'm not afraid of death. I'm big. I used to go to Endwell in California, in Northern California, San Francisco, and Los Angeles over the years because end-of-life care, watching my mom, like knowing like my mom had like kind of like a horrible death, and knowing all the things I know now, like, oh gosh, please get involved.
And that's why I thought this conversation, like, even if you, like me, haven't dealt with cancer, I just think your outlook on life is just incredible. I mean, like you said, you're not scared of death, and like I am. So
I mean, I'm like, I have fear of like the act of dying and dying badly. Like car crashes terrify me. Like being in pain and scared, but like death itself, not scared at all. And also when you're concussed, for example, like I remember waking up on the floor and I'm like, is that what death is? Like, it's just black? And I'm like, that's kind of, kind of sad, but because that's kind of like nothing. And most people, I think, do believe that. But after my MRI experience, I'm like, oh no, and of course doctors will try to like, they won't, but even with my psych, who I think I'm going to stop seeing, not because I don't love, she's great, but I don't need to. And also I'm in a different space now, but like, if they feel like they can science everything out, I'm like, you're missing the picture. But yeah, it was like, so I've over the last, how many years? 9 years, I have seen so many people I care about with my same diagnosis, better diagnosis. That's another thing with brain tumors. It don't like people are like, oh no, it's 2, 3, or 4. Like, oh, the good one is 2, the bad one's 4. It depends on, okay, there's like location of the tumor can be worse than the actual grading. Granted, a 4 is pretty bad. But location of the tumor and operability of the tumor are like most important.
And probably the skill of your surgeon.
Yeah. And also like just imagine, like I remember like sometimes you'll see someone who had a surgery. Like there's one guy who had a surgery in India like 20 years ago. And they took all visible signs of the tumor. Well, guess who went from being an engineer to being someone who's like can only recite sports facts.
Oh my gosh.
And doesn't know how to stop eating.
Wow.
Like you don't, so it's like,
Yeah.
if they were like, I'm so glad they didn't take too much out with me. Like if sure, I might lose some time, but I'm still myself. And like my deficits. So I do have deficits. Like a lot of them, I don't understand. The neuropsychs can tell you all about my deficits. I'm not a genius, as we've discussed.
Well, did you get any from the surgery and from chemo or anything, or is it the same that you had before and after?
More or less the same. There's some ups in one area. Like obviously with a lot of the swelling was causing a lot of issues. Like I would like trying to give my sister directions when before my surgery. But after my diagnosis, I was trying to give her, she's like, well, I'll just turn on my map on my phone to get you from DMC to, your house in Royal Oak. I'm like, that's a route I do all the time. I should know it, right? But I'm trying to give her directions and she's like, what? We're in circles. And I'm getting frustrated, but like, it's just because the brain is weird like that. And, where was I going with that? Sorry.
Just asking, like, if you had any more deficits after. Yeah.
After, besides the fatigue, I mean, I think most cancer patients will tell you fatigue, but neurofatigue is a bit different. So I need frequent rest and naps, though telling someone like me to take a nap is pretty hard. I do sleep a lot longer. I need more sleep. I have a mild form of aphasia sometimes, which I think Bruce Willis had it, like a very extreme version of it. And still, I mean, I don't even know if he still has it, but because he's in a totally different situation, but my brain will kind of spin in circles a little bit. So I'll start, all the words that come out are real words and it sounds like I know I'm talking, but sometimes it's just like a circular words on rotation. Kind of like politicians talking sometimes. But like when I'm tired, when I am anxious, when I am angry, when I'm scared, then you'll see these things come up a lot more. Or when like my boyfriend will always know when it's time for me to leave a party or something.
Yeah.
And but I won't, because I'll be like, no, I'm having a good time. He's like, nope, you're slurring your words. You're slurring. And yeah, so he can always tell. Luckily, he grew up with a grandfather that had a stroke before he was even born, and his mom was a speech therapist. So he knows how to read. Like he already knows what I'm going to say half the time. And my word scrambles are hilarious. Word finding issues are pretty funny. But yeah, I will say, after my diagnosis and then working in the family business, then I was kind of still taking sales calls, but I would mess up orders even worse after my diagnosis until I remember the bookkeeper was like, you might want to sign up for disability. I'm like, oh no, because I'd heard bad things, and I do know people that have cheated the system and done it horribly, and for horrible injury, like for stupid injuries that they're actually healed from. But I'm like, why would you want to live on that? Like, I could never live on this if I didn't have my boyfriend. Like, I don't know what I'll do if he dies. Like, I'll move in with my dad, but he's 87. So, like, what would I do? Because I don't even think I could buy groceries and rent with mine. But for now, I can pay my bills and, do this, that, or the other. But it was because I was screwing up so much at work, even worse than I did before. Like, I would take an order. I'd be talking to, let's say, Dr. Klein, and I would write Kline and take the order. Order would be more or less correct, but then we'd a call next day. Well, Mr. Klein said he didn't get his order. Well, I took his order. Okay, well, Dr. Campbell says he got an order, because it starts with like maybe the same first 2 or 3 letters, and that would happen like not every day, but sometimes 3 times a day. And so and that would be defiant. And even now, like, for example, I remember just recently my boyfriend saying, like, so as I'm in my 40s now, and I need readers, because on top of my like normal prescription, all of a sudden I'm doing this with like the books, and my boyfriend's like, well, do you need like, different glasses? I go, well, I don't think I'll need bipolars. And he's like, are you sure that's what you're meaning? I'm like, I worked in optical. I know what bipolars are. He's like, are you sure you got the right word? I'm like, of course I know. And then I'm like, well, and then he's like, I'm gonna go, what did I say? He's like, think about it. Did I say bipolar? I'm like, well, technically a bifocal can be polarized. However, they're not a thing. So yes.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So how long after, like, when did you find out about your mom? What happened there?
She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer like a few months into my treatment.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't even drive to see her. Luckily we went to the same hospital sometimes. So there's a picture of her being all emaciated, but looking gorgeous. And then there's me being all puffy with like short, uneven hair. That's one of my favorite pictures, actually. Yeah. I got her last phone call too. Yeah, she had a lot of issues too. I wish people knew more about palliative care, which isn't hospice care. It's not, everyone thinks palliative is hospice, and I really do think even like every kind of patient or person with like a physical issue, or like my mom could have used a palliative care person just to like check her vitals, and also to like make sure her pills, like, 'cause like she accidentally overdosed like morphine like once or twice, but not on purpose. She wasn't suicidal. She just was in so much pain, and she was in her 70s and would get like confused. And when you're on stuff like, yeah. So I mean, and I had another brain buddy of mine who had something called ependymoma, and she just passed away last fall. She'd been fighting it since she was a teenager, and she's one of the most amazing people ever. Her name was Tiffany, but she had was so defiant. She had a special car license, like driving license, because of her like physical issues. So again, where in the brain your tumor can cause so her brain was sharp, but her body, like the brain that operates body things, like that's where her issues were. Mine would be like short-term memory and speech sometimes. And it was a slow growing tumor, so my brain made substitutions. So I have some like helpers, but like hers was all like body stuff, and she was really struggling. I think she could have used palliative care, like to help with like a shower, wash her hair.
Is that more like a home nurse and stuff?
Kind of like like there's different variations of it, but it's not hospice. Mm-hmm. So people always think they're the same thing. Now, often it can lead to hospice. Mm-hmm. And some people can be on hospice years and then get kicked out and have to like go over again. But like palliative care could be, I just think for like my mom could have used palliative care, even if it wasn't like, she could have used it just to help her with her meds, even like with a heart, like, issues, and making sure like your meds are okay, your vitals are okay. My mom had like blood clot, right? But didn't know it. She just thought her leg was in a lot of pain. But I feel like if a nurse, someone came in and she's like, well, how are you feeling? Oh, she goes, like, I've got this really bad pain. And she's had it, and it, obviously then that's what actually got her, wasn't technically the cancer.
Oh, really?
But it's common, I think, for the treatment with it.
Yeah, I just think overall in our medical system, well, we all know our medical system is trash, but especially aftercare for really anything. Yeah. I mean, I just talked about my one friend I had on the show. She had no aftercare after having a major C-section. Oof. Women are just told, figure it out. Like there's nothing, there's no physical therapy. There's nothing. And then, my mom had hip surgery recently. It was like her 3rd hip replacement because a doctor messed her up so bad. And it was like her final, like she barely had any bone left. And anyone who has had a hip replacement knows someone, they get you up and walking the same day. Mm-hmm. My mom, it was, you cannot put any weight for 3 months because it was this was like the final, like she barely had any bone left. And they didn't give her a home aid at all or anything. And
it's like you have to do it yourself. And it's like, that's what I worry about. Like, just if I don't like if I have a reoccurrence and my boyfriend something has to, I don't know what I will do. Like, because it's scary. But like, and reoccurrence is so. There is no such thing really in brain cancer, primary brain cancers. Like remission is not a thing. There, like we don't use that word.
Okay.
You might like very every now and then, like my buddy in the UK, you can say no evidence of disease, but really no. Like even like I still see the flare in my MRI. Like so, I mean.
How often do you get an MRI?
I was getting them every 3 months, and then for like after 5 or 6 years, I started getting them every 4 months.
Okay.
Then now it's every 6 months. I can go like 11 months if I want to, but just because reoccurrence is so expected and common, especially with my diagnosis, I'm like, I feel safer. Even with the contrast fluid and the risks, I'm like, I'd rather just know.
Yeah.
And I love my team too. So it's like my social hour with them. I get to see
Yeah.
my nurses and, there's Francine and Amy and Dr. Snyder. And I love them. I'm active. So I was active with the American Brain Tumor Association, still am on their VLAC board. I might be stepping aside for temporarily.
Well, I'm curious because like you talk so highly of your medical team and everything, but now you're saying you're kind of stepping away. So like, what happened?
Well, nothing really happened. Then there's the National Brain Tumor Association, NBTS, which I go to. I love it just because I'm going to Washington D.C. and talking to the senators and congressmen. But now I'm like jaded too, and I'm like want to roll my eyes a lot, especially living in Michigan. But I love going to Washington D.C. Right, and I just think it's fun. And
I haven't been, but I really want
I
to.
had never been up until like 2017 or 2018 when I got Henry Ford. My neuro-oncologist got like started like there was like this like I don't know if the word is grants, but for like 5 of us to go because I was asking about it because all the people on then Twitter X were talking about going to Head to the Hill with NBTS, and I'm like, and I go, Dr. Snyder, are you going? He's like, I've never heard of this, and then so he researched it, and the next year we got to go, and then I went every year, and then COVID, and we did online, which is not as fun, and then I went.
I keep getting asked to go for like people
cool.
speaking and stuff, like different conferences. And I'm like, that's no fun to me. Like I can talk to you people whenever. I don't need to go like pay. First of all, I have to pay to go.
That was the biggest thing is I had like, if I had I wrote a thing and I ended up I only go, so I was a caregiver for my buddy 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the one who passed away, Tiffany. She was giving a speech for her ependymoma organization there, and she needed a helper. So I went there as a helper, which is so funny when 2 brain patients. So I couldn't remember how to operate an elevator. My brain thing, and she was cracking up. So I'm pushing her wheelchair, so I'm the body and she's the brain. That was like how we traveled together.
That's so funny.
And I ended up usually being those at different conferences that I would always be helping somebody around, even though it's like, I'm like, why am I the brain patient? Why am I helping people? Like I am the worst. So I love doing that stuff and I love meeting people, but I have a little bit of burnout. So it's Head for the Cure, which is out of Kansas City, I think. Then there's American Brain Tumor Association, Chicago, NBTS, National Brain Tumor Society, wherever they are, which is out east. I was active with all of those, even Imerman Angels, which is, links cancer patients up with each other. So someone your same age, gender, that kind of thing. Like, of course, I did that for a while, but I'm stepping back slowly. It's not that I want to always, like, anyone can always, like, send me a brain patient or a caregiver that wants to ask about, like, their kid or their husband or their wife or whatever. I love doing that. It's fine. I get a lot of it, but a lot of people after the election have been very, like, we're losing all our research. I'm like...
That's something I need to look into more because a lot of people say, even... I'm not scared to even talk shit about Kennedy if I need to. I am a big fan of what HHS is doing, but I am critical of everyone. Right. And Kennedy wants us to be critical. I mean, he told us numerous times to never trust the government. Yeah. And he is the government now. Okay?
And I'm quite, like, I'm in a place where I'm questioning everything. And I'm like, it's just that, like, I will say that all the organizations lean very far left, and to the point where it's almost frustrating to be like, even when I went, like, no offense, Henry Ford, I love you. But even we had our first like little the Hermelin Brain Tumor Center, like little conference. And the speaker is, I think, the new head of NIH, because he's a buddy with one of the surgeons. I could be wrong, and I'm sorry if I get the titles wrong and who's who, but like, I love Dr. Siddiqui at Henry Ford. He's amazing. That's the kindest, most generous. But I think it's his buddy. And the first thing he did, if he was just talking about his own brain tumor experience, his friend was the head of NIH, I think. No, I could be wrong. It could be a different
Head
thing.
of NIH is Dr. Bhattacharya.
Is he?
Bhattacharya.
Someone had a new. It's a new person. It might not be NIH. It might be. I feel like something else. I got scrambled. In any case, whoever was the new head of something, and he had a benign brain tumor.
Okay.
And so I thought he's a friend of Dr. Siddiqui, and it was great when he was telling his story of his diagnosis, but he didn't. He very like loosely went through that and then went on to like getting everyone worked up about research. And I was like,
well, then that's what I was going to say is like, there's a lot of talk right now that the Trump administration cut cancer research. I should probably not say it, but I'm going to. I'm just frustrated with how much money has gone into cancer research and has produced nothing.
Well, and I've heard such bad things about like American, what is it? The American Cancer
I don't know,
but Association. Yeah,
so part of me is kind of like, maybe we need to cut back and really look at what that money is going to, because anytime there's a good cause, there's also bad actors that are trying to get a piece, and that's what I'm scared of. So, but regardless, I don't know if it's true that cancer research has been cut. I can't tell you that, because a lot of money is just being shifted. So maybe they closed down this cancer research to look at something else that maybe is better,
That's what that's what I'm noticing too, is like, I'm just, instead of getting everyone worked up, like, can we just like I did write Donald Trump about questions, and have I received a response? No, I don't expect one from him personally, about like 8 months ago. But like, it is about that kind of thing. I'm like, well, my friends are freaking out, and they're gonna lose all their but I'm like, I feel like I'm in such a jaded, dark place just because of my own political journey, not even brain related, like, to where I'm like, I'm down the conspiracy. Like, I am that person. If you wanted to know what podcasts I listen to, I will probably can't be canceled by like, like everyone on every side, because like, I the more controversial, it's not because I was like agreeing with them. I'm just like, oh, I want to learn about this Hollywood gossip. And
oh my gosh, it's so funny because like, I do not consider myself like a conspiracy theorist at all, but a lot of people would probably call me one. I don't shy away from conversations. So, like, I never wanted to get into talking about chemtrails. Like,
so now all of a sudden,
and now people like come to me as to be like a spokesperson on the topic, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just like, when you look at the facts, like,
well, it's so funny too, because I have in my lifetime, so I was a little bit of a young Republican back in the 90s, which is hilarious because I'm not at all that person, but like, I have been Republican, then jaded, then libertarian, then vote Democrat because all my friends are, and like, ew, the Trump derangement syndrome, until you're like, you want to vote for RFK, so then and then he joins Trump, so then you go to a rally and then all your friends cancel you, even though you didn't even like Trump, but you just went. But like, heaven forbid you make your own choices. And
I guess I'm gonna get canceled by everyone, because like, I've been to every political party rally other than the Green Party. It's the only one I haven't gone to.
That's the only one I won't probably ever go
or
to.
Florida, just like the small ones. But I've been to Libertarian, Republican, Democrat, Independent, all of those events. So
yeah, it's such an like, I've been on every side, and now I'm like, I'm like so in this paranoid place. But now that's why has been questioning medicine. And do I think my doctors are dumb or anything? No, I don't. I just don't trust politicians.
Just wait a second.
I'm like, my tumor is sleeping like a bear in a cave right now, and one day it'll wake up, probably. But right now it's sleeping, and that, we're down with that, which is a weird mental place to be in. I'm no longer on any seizure meds. I've been off them since January of this year. I have not had a seizure, knock on wood.
Well, and I see you always posting about running and stuff. I don't know why. Ever since I was young, I always told myself if I ever got cancer, I would just be in the gym all day, every day.
Yeah,
and you are literally doing that.
I'm doing that. Well, it's after talking to my buddy Tiffany, who had appendimoma and had like one side of her body like just didn't work. She was kind of like a stroke patient in a lot of ways, and I go, does it ever bother you when people? She goes, no, it actually like bothers me more when people can do those things and don't. So I was like, this isn't like,
man, that's my motivation right there. I'm so bad recently. I really need to get my life together. It's just finding that perfect schedule is just so hard because I don't like to work out alone.
See, and I do, and I don't like working out with people, except for I will notice now that I'm running, like trying to train for the Detroit Free Press half marathon. And I'm actually trying to train for it because when I was doing my Olympic lifting a few years ago, and I think it was 2021, I was Olympic lifting, and I'm like, I only have time to run like once or twice a week. So I know I can run a 10K, so I'll just start at 6 miles and train. I have never been in more pain in my life because I think I maybe made it to 8 miles once. And like,
what's your average mile?
Oh, slow. Right now I'm like 12 minutes and 30. Like back before my diagnosis, it'd be like a 9 minute, 9:30. Now it's like 12:30.
When I was doing cross country, I was pretty like 11-minute average, so I'm pretty slow. But.
Well, I'd like at this point in my life, like I'm in my mid 40s, and I'm just grateful to be able to do it at all, as opposed to being. I mean, before my diagnosis, I wasn't even in great shape terribly, but I was like I thought like I was like paleo, and I wasn't even a very good paleo person. I was like my dad. My dad is going to be 87, and he'll be like, I'm vegan. And you're like, you have Dove bar ice cream bars and you eat chicken. But like, I mean, sure. You could, even if he said vegetarian-ish or pescatarian or something, like, nope, he calls himself, that's me like calling myself like back then, like, I do the paleo diet. Like I try, like I did okay-ish, but yeah, I do it now because it's free. So I just quit my Olympic lifting, not because it wasn't fun. It was very fun. It's just a younger crew, and it's expensive, and my credit card is ridiculous. And I don't have a job, so there's no reason my credit card needs to be like that high now.
That's the hard thing, is finding affordable. Like you have Planet Fitness, but Planet Fitness is always packed,
and you can't do. Is that the place where they don't have barbells?
No, they have them.
What am I thinking of? Another.
I do have workout equipment in my basement, but it's an unfinished basement, so
I know that
not
feel.
very fun. And now it's getting cold, and I hate being cold.
That's why I'm like. But the thing is, like, since we got the puppy now he's got his own schedule, and he has to be crated and can't make too much noise. It's like he's a baby. He's not a baby.
Yeah.
I know he's not a human baby. I know that. I'm in my mid 40s. However, this dog, like, I have to work out in the basement, and if I want to do any exercise, I have windows of time, and if I don't use that time, then I don't exercise. And when you struggle with your weight, like I've had for most of my life, being a short, chunky Italian, like it's just a part of my life. And I'm like, well, I've been fitnessing like crazy. I've always been into fitness. Like even I remember right before my surgery, a month before my surgery, I was trying to do a 5K. And luckily it's the Gilda's Club, the Gilda's 5K, Gilda Radner, and I'm a big Gilda Radner fan because she went to Liggett, like me. I went to Liggett, Grosse Pointe, and she went there and was the Liggett School for Girls in Indian Village, and then there was the Grosse Pointe University School, which was for boys, and they joined up, but Gilda went there. Anyway, so I did the Gilda Club 5K right before my surgery, and I had to lay in my own driveway because I thought it passes my own house, so like I just laid down there for a second because I thought I was going to have a seizure, but I didn't. I thought there'd be a medal, but there was no medal.
Dang it. I really need to start running or something again. I've always had like really bad hip
pretty out
problems
here,
too. I know.
The trees. I was going to take a selfie
This is
in
the
front of
best
trees.
time. My husband thinks that this is the worst time to run. I'm like, you don't understand. Or like when it's raining.
Ugh.
I'm like, when I used to cross country, like the rain was the best time.
Well, especially when you're hot and sweaty.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, that's one thing I want to say too is I've lost so many friends. Like, so I lost my friend Tiffany, actually, Tiffany in October 2024, a ependymoma. Then, another friend of mine, I can't remember. I have name issues. So that's one thing my surgeon did tell me right after my surgery, she's not going to remember names, which is very funny.
I did not have brain surgery and I'm horrible with names. Like that is my Achilles heel
It's
in
my
life.
favorite thing because I have an excuse for it because she literally told me that and I thought it was weird, but
Well, you're
really
lucky
can't.
in that way because I am terrible with names. And like, even when I know someone's name, I get scared to say it just in case I remember the wrong one or something. Like I really like Facebook Messenger.
Oh, me too.
So I could like actually see the picture with someone's
That's why
name.
that's what I have to do. Go through I use Facebook almost even with my own family members. I mean, not immediate. I know immediate family members, but sometimes I'll call like it's like my mom would always call my sisters are 15 and 17 years older than me, but she would still call like each name before she hits yours and maybe the neighbor's dog before she gets yours. But for the most part, like my friend, like I lost another friend in Chicago due to her oligodendroglioma, which is actually one of the good brain tumors, but she passed away from that in like November or December of last year. And then another friend of mine, and then two more. I was just like, and I was like I'm used to it like happening. Like another buddy was diagnosed like 2 months before me. She passed away during COVID, not from COVID, but like she passed away due to her location of her. She had the same diagnosis as me, but like it was in a different spot, and it did do some funny stuff. But that's not even. It came back and it was growing, but I think she caught pneumonia and died from that. It's just it's like I'm used to like losing a friend or two a year, but when it's like 5 or 6 in like 3 or 4 months, it's just especially like Tiffany, for example, she was like a close friend. We traveled together. We went to San Diego to give some input to a place that was looking for a new medication that would help brain cancer, glioblastoma. So like we did a lot of traveling. So I'll say like just live now. Like that is my biggest thing is like I remember spending most of my 20s and 30s, like until my mid 30s anyway, postponing like the future, like I'll worry about that later or whatever. And then, gosh, like getting my diagnosis and then like realizing I have a terminal diagnosis. I mean, we all have a terminal diagnosis, don't we? I mean, we're all going to die, right? I just have a shorter window technically, but like, you never know. I remember a doctor saying like, oh, you could crash your car before this cancer will come back. And I remember being irritated, like, well, it's not the same, but I get it now long-term. And I will say that I do think like to stop don't postpone everything or looking for a future or waiting till you build something up. Like live your life now, which just doesn't mean be risky and stupid, but like live life now, like live it, love it. That's all we got.
I love your outlook. I experienced death really young. So that's why I'm like traumatized by it. I even saw after Charlie Kirk's passing, I think it was Alex Clark, is that her name, that runs the Apothecary or whatever podcast. She had posted that one of the worst parts about someone dying is when the funeral flowers die. And man, that bring up some feelings for me because I lost both of my grandparents when I was like 5 and 7. And they died like exactly 2 years apart to the day. And my grandma was my best friend. I mean,
it's brutal.
And I didn't mean to get emotional.
No, it's good. I actually, it makes me feel better when I know. It's not that I want you crying, but
So I had her flowers from the funeral, and I had like kind of like a walk-in closet, and I put them in there because it had kind of like a stand. It fit the flowers perfectly, and they died, and I just smelled the floral smell in my room. So now I can't do floral. I just wow.
I know. Well, and the thing is, After my mom passed away, we had seen The Greatest Showman just a few weeks
Yeah.
before she died, right?
Wow.
And we were very close. I was her baby. She almost died having me.
Wow.
I was a whoops. She had my sisters when she was in her early 20s. She had me when she was almost 40.
Wow.
In 1980, which was, and she had actually had, I think, diverticulitis. Then her bowels actually ruptured when she was pregnant with
Oh my
me.
gosh.
And she had a whole bunch. She had like weird, like floating above her body experiences when she was like, she might not have survived having me and all that kind of stuff. Um, we were always very close. And I was a very spoiled, lucky child because my dad's company was doing well when I was born. Everything was great. And we traveled the world. We did things. I had fancy clothes. But my mom, we were like this. I was like attached to her at the hip. And when we fought, we would like cuss and slam doors and then like a half hour later go out to lunch.
Literally, that's how Italians are.
Yeah, she's not even Italian.
Yeah.
She's the Polish one.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I'm Italian and Polish too.
Really? That's my mom. My mom is the tall blonde, tans easily, and her whole family's like tall and like.
Yeah.
My dad's is the short, pale, and dark hair or red hair. But yeah, my mom and I were really close, and then she was diagnosed pancreatic, which I mean, to me, I'm so glad I have brain cancer as opposed. If I had to die from one, I would prefer brain. They're both horrible, obviously, but just even then her sister passed away also from it, so or related to the pancreatic. But after my MRI experience, where I had a very like spiritual experience, and it was very calming. And then after my mom passed away a few months later, I had a dream where she came to me in a dream with an old Nokia phone. Don't ask. I feel like whatever comes next is great. I truly believe that there is something that comes next, and I won't get all like biblical or anything about it because that's not my expertise, but I do have full excitement and enthusiasm for whatever comes next. But while we're here, we have a lot to do while we're here. Mm-hmm. And I used to be so selfish, and even now I'm still often very selfish, and I don't want to be, but I want to do better. And I feel like if I'm still here, well, I got to do something, and there's probably a reason behind it. So
yeah. Well, you've kind of talked about it already, but to summarize, if there was one thing you wish people knew, what would be that one thing?
You have a very short timeline in the grand scheme, so live it up and live it now. Live your life now. Just live it. Don't keep looking off into the future. Like, live it. Now is the time because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you coming out. Sisters from Another Misters.
Yeah.
This is great.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on X and on Instagram. I'm Life is Kitsch, KITSCH.
Is there a story behind that?
I was like in my 20s, and I used to have I think a MySpace or something like way back when I met my first husband on MySpace. Kitsch cakes was my thing, and that was somehow taken, so I just picked Life is Kitsch. And now there's no deep meaning behind it, and I would change it now, but unfortunately I'm committed to it. It's easy to remember, and doing my brain foibles, it's
That's so funny.
easy to remember.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming out, and I will see you guys all next time.